Welcome to the Ringer NFL show. I'm your host, Sheil Kapadia. Maybe for the first time in history, the NFL trade deadline actually delivered. Blockbuster deals involving Sauce Gardner to the Colts, Quinnen Williams to the Cowboys, other deals like the Saints trading Rashid Shaheed to the Seahawks. To talk about it all, we've got one of the best in the business, NFL Network's Gregg Rosenthal. You can listen to him on the NFL Daily Podcast on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. All right, no time to waste. Short intro today, too much to talk about. Let's take a break, come back, and talk trade deadline with Gregg Rosenthal. This is the Ringer NFL show presented by FanDuel, the best place to bet the NFL all season long. FanDuel's got it all. Same game parlays, quick bets for jumping in live, and your way so you can build the bet that fits your play. And Missouri, get excited because FanDuel's coming your way December 1st. Download the FanDuel.com/Ringer NFL to get started. Must be 21 plus and present in select states and 18 plus in DC, Kentucky, and Wyoming. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. All right, we are back on the Ringer NFL show with Gregg Rosenthal. Gregg, are you ready to grade, evaluate, assess some of these trades? What a trade deadline we had.
Nobody said there would be grading, but yes, I am relieved as someone who like pumps up and makes a big deal out of like the trade deadline being meaningful just because I want to like cover the NBA. It is nice when one delivers.
Well, my backup idea for you was I was going to pitch you trades that should have happened and didn't happen. I was already, Myles Garrett to the Eagles for Tanner McKee, 2 first. I mean, I had stuff ready, but you know what? We're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the actual trade. So let's get to it. Jets trade Sauce Gardner to the Colts for 2 first-round picks, 2026 and 2027, and wide receiver A.D. Mitchell. Gregg, I feel like every trade evaluation comes down to you're in the room with the GM who makes the decision. He turns to you and you have to say yes or no. So let's start there. You're in the Colts room with Chris Ballard, and he says, Gregg, here's the offer. Yes or no, and why?
Man. I think I'd say no, but maybe I shouldn't. Like, I do think it's a win-win, but trading 2 firsts for any cornerback, especially like the highest paid cornerback in the league, plus a good young receiver. I think A.D. Mitchell at some point could actually help a team. It's such a big risk, and yet I get why the Colts did it. So I can both say that I like the trade for both sides, and that if I'm in the room in that position and it was the team I was running, this is not probably the trade I would make.
Okay, so why did the Colts do it then? Give me your reasoning. You said you can see why the Colts did it. Why do you think they did it? Is it sound reasoning?
They're in win now mode, and Sauce Gardner is what, still 25 years old. It's not like they're mortgaging their future. He's a player that you build around. But one thing that I regretted coming into this year, being so down on the Colts, assuming that they were just going to be a bottom, 10 team, was how much continuity and how much talent they have. And that actually, if you look at their roster, they've kind of been building to this moment. Like their skill position players have all been in this Shane Steichen system. Their offensive line is talented and young. And then especially on defense, they have a lot of guys that are at the end of their runs with the Colts, like Buckner and Grover Stewart and Kenny Moore, even Zaire Franklin. Like these are guys that maybe aren't going to be around for more than a year or two. So to me, they are a win now type of team. They're 7-2. They haven't had a season like this in 10 years. And they have a chance to go to the Super Bowl in a pretty weak AFC. So I do get why they would try to win now, and now being like the next 2 years, essentially.
So I think if you're a Colts fan, you're excited about this. I mean, it's sweet. If you're a fan of a team and they trade for a player, premium position, blue chip player, like you said, 25 years old, you should be excited. The Colts group chats and, oh my goodness, this is amazing. So I hate to be the guy who rains on the parade, but I would be a no. I would be a pretty loud no if I was in that room, and I'll give you my reasoning and you tell me where I'm wrong. I just feel like if you have uncertainty at quarterback, which I think they do, maybe you disagree, maybe others disagree, you don't give away 2 first-round picks unless it's like a defensive player, unless it's Micah Parsons or Myles Garrett. And so I look at this Colts team and I'm like, they're a fun story. They've absolutely exceeded my expectations. Maybe if a bunch of things go right, they can get to the Super Bowl. I don't quite see them there. And I was thinking about this, Greg, like what are the chances a year from now? Let's say we do another pod early November next year that we're talking about the Colts quarterback situation and being like, I'm not quite sure what they're going to do there. Like, I think that's a pretty high percentage. And if you feel like that's a toss up around 50-50, then you can't just be giving away 2 first-round picks here.
They do not think it's a toss-up around 50-50. What would your percentage be that we would be having that conversation? I'm curious.
I think I am around a toss-up. Is that
think
crazy? I don't know.
No, I don't think that's crazy at all. I think it's lower, and I think they think it's way lower. So this is a vote of confidence in Daniel Jones. They're getting that deal done. You know, he's a
scary
free agent
sentence,
this year.
Greg.
I mean, it just is, though. Like, Steichen likes him. He does what is required in that system. He has played well. This one game didn't freak me out, especially when you go through it play by play. I think they feel like they have their quarterback for the next 3 or 4 years. And that does make you a little nervous, but I would say no in the room, but I would say it quietly. This is one of those, like, you're in a marriage, Sheil. Like, you pick your battles. I wouldn't pick this battle. If Chris is my boss, Chris Ballard, and he wants to do it, and the consensus, I get it, because it's pretty close to 50-50 for me. And they're also win now because, like, they all were going to get fired going into this year. And winning a playoff game in Indianapolis is a huge, huge win. I think that you should be favored to win a playoff game this year.
I think you're right. I'm not saying it's a disaster. This isn't one of those like the Bill O'Brien, DeAndre Hopkins ones where you're just coming on here going, no, every single time I'm like locking the door, stealing their cell phone, saying, don't do this. Because at the very least, it is hard to get blue chip players at premium positions who are young in the contract. You know, now it might look like one thing, but if he doesn't want to renegotiate, that might look like a great contract a year from now, 2 years from now. So I'm okay there. I think what I realized all day long as I'm trying to analyze this trade is just I'm not nearly as sold on Daniel Jones and this Colts team as others are. I'm looking at it like when I just heard you say they think they have their guy for 3 or 4 years, I am rewinding to the Giants and like, this is an 8-game sample. It's not even a 9-game because the 9th game was not very good. I know it wasn't maybe a total disaster, but this is an 8-game sample. Like, so do you think they're going to pay Daniel Jones like $50 million this offseason and he's just going to be their guy?
Yes. Well, not that much money. In their perfect world, they're giving him the Sam Darnold contract. He's in a very similar situation to where Darnold was a year ago. Now, Darnold's deal looks incredible right now. It was 3 for $100. They've got him, like, he needs to go renegotiate that deal. He's only making 32, 33. With the way the cap's going up, if they got their own version of that, you don't make this move unless you completely believe in Daniel Jones in this system. And then B, you also, and this is actually the part that's harder for me, believe that Sauce Gardner with Lou Anarumo are just going to make sweet, sweet music together. Because Sauce Gardner hasn't been that big of a difference maker the last year and a half. And in fact, at parts, he's flat out struggled. And so those are two evaluations that Chris Ballard is making, that the trade only makes sense. And I feel confident that was the evaluation that he made, that Gardner and Lou are perfect together and that Daniel Jones is our guy for the next 2 to 3 years minimum.
All right. We and I have to give the alternative because I know people will say, well, then what would you do? You can't just rip all, Daniel Jones. So I would just be a little patient here and say, maybe we make a more lower level move here. We see how the rest of the season plays out for Daniel Jones. Can he stay healthy for an entire season? By the way, he has a very storied injury history. And then I'm using the franchise tag on him. I am not signing him to a long-term contract after the season. I'm keeping my picks. I just want that optionality because I'm not sure after an 8-game sample that the offense is going to continue to perform at these historic levels. I could be wrong. You could be right. Maybe we get to the playoffs and I'm like, man, I had the wrong read. They were better than I thought they were going to be. And maybe they know that better than I do. But if you're asking me at this very point in time, I would be like, I'm just going to take this slow, enjoy this season, and see where I'm at season's end.
The bill will come due at some point, but right now they have an incredibly cheap like interior offensive line that's awesome. They now add Sauce Gardner to Charvarius Ward and Kenny Moore. Like that's a great cornerback trio. They have a pass rusher in Laiatu Latu, who's probably the best second-year pass rusher in the league right now. Like he's really coming on. They've hit on their recent picks. I think they're feeling themselves. I think they are thinking this is as weak as the AFC is ever going to look, and we absolutely have a chance to make the Super Bowl. I think that's fair. I still think they would be my second favorite to make the Super Bowl right now.
Second? Who's first?
The Chiefs, but I know the seeds are bad. The Bills are right there.
You got the Colts over the Bills?
Well, I did going into last week, and am I just going to change it?
Wow.
Part of the reason is that I think the Colts have a pretty good chance to get a good record, have a 1 or a 2 seed, potentially skip around in the playoffs. And I do think offense travels. This has a chance to be a special offense, but man, Daniel Jones could make us all look stupid.
All right, because that was going to be my next question for you, because you were pumping him up. And I was going to say, all right, then stack them. But you are, putting your money where your mouth is, saying maybe the second highest odds. I have them considerably lower. I mean, I got Chiefs and Bills. I honestly, if you're talking ceiling, get to the Super Bowl, I think I still have the Ravens ahead of them. I know that sounds crazy, but I think I still would. And I might even have your Patriots ahead of them. I don't think that's crazy. So that's kind of the tier I would put them in. So now it's clarifying. As I had these conversations, I'm like, man, why am I not as high on this move as other people? But I think that's the question. When I get to that question and other people feel like they really have it, I view them as a good team, cute little story, fun little story, nice little surprise, maybe divisional round. I will be shocked if they're playing in the AFC Championship or the Super Bowl.
They kind of remind me of the old Chiefs, Trent Green, Dick Vermeil teams, or maybe even some early Manning teams. I do think their offense is that good, but ultimately, that's a team that probably loses in the divisional round. The harder thing for me is just is Sauce Gardner a transcendent player? And that we'll have to see. If he is a transcendent player, then it ends up making sense. But it just hurts to look at a trade haul that was basically the same as the Micah Parsons trade haul. And it's just one is Sauce Gardner and one is Micah Parsons. These two are not the same.
Perfect setup. Let's take a break. We'll come back and talk about the team that maybe traded away Micah Parsons and what they did on trade deadline day. This episode is brought to you by American Eagle. Gift, hooray! Give great jeans this holiday season with American Eagle. They have all the wish list worthy new arrivals for everyone on your list, including you. You'll find comfy, cozy sweaters, soft fleece, sweatshirts, hoodies, flannels, and a whole bunch more. Plus, you'll love their trending jeans, like the high-waisted stovepipe, original straight, boot cut, and so many more fits. They've got every style and everyone covered. You can check it all out at ae.com or just go to the store. All right, we are back here with Gregg Rosenthal. We'll save the Jets for the end here, Greg, but let's talk about this other trade. Jets trade Quinnen Williams to the Cowboys for a 2026 second, a 2027 first, and defensive tackle Mozzie Smith. Key stipulation here, which I loved. It was kind of like the NBA, top 3 protected or whatever. Per multiple reports, the 2027 first round pick that goes to the Jets will be the higher of the picks that the Cowboys have, their pick and the Packers pick. So they've got both those picks. Whichever one ends up being better, that's the one that goes to the Jets in this deal. All right, same question here. You're in Jerry World there, beautiful facilities. He turns to you. He maybe can't remember your name, but he knows you work for the Cowboys there. And he says, Greg, this has nothing to do with Micah Parsons. This is about this isolated deal for Quinnen Williams, 2027 first and a 2026 second. Do I make this deal?
And I say, Jerry, my name's Will McClay. I've been running your personnel department for 8 years, doing whatever you told me to. And now you're making me just make the Mark Parsons trade look better at the last second. I'd probably say yes. You only live once.
Really?
Because my biggest problem with this Cowboys trade is that I don't think they have any sort of long-term plan and that they're all just making it up as they go along. And of course, in aggregate with the Parsons trade, it's a net loss. But holding on to 227 picks or Quinnen Williams for the next like 3 seasons, I think that's fair. And they need so much on that defense that I do think sometimes we overvalue draft picks, especially like outside the top 10, which they're obviously hoping that this pick will be.
Okay. I don't think it's outrageous. I think Quinnen Williams is probably a top 5 defensive tackle. Although this year, Greg, 1 sack, 3 quarterback hits. He ranks 90th in the NFL in pressures. I couldn't believe that until I was preparing. Now he's awesome against the run. Maybe the best run defending defensive tackle in the NFL. We know that's very important to Jerry there. It is a bit of a haul, like first round pick. I can get there. First round pick and a second round pick for Quinnen Williams. I don't think I do this deal if I'm the Cowboys, but just like Sauce Gardner, I like Quinnen Williams as a player as well. But you had a tweet that I need you to just recap, because you can't talk about this trade without Parsons. You just have to zoom out and be like, all right, the moves that the Cowboys have made here in the last 2 months, what went out, what came back in. So tell the people what went out, what came back in, and let's evaluate it on that basis.
Well, it's essentially you traded Micah, right, and Mozzie Smith for Kenny Clark, Quinnen Williams, and a move up in the 26th draft, about 20 picks. Yeah. And that's why I want to change my answer from literally 90 seconds ago. Because it drives me too crazy that they literally don't have any extra picks.
Oh my God.
From this trade in aggregate. And it's been a long day. And it is that second round pick that if I'm in the room for, it's like I can even swallow the first, but it's just too much. I do not want to be trading away 2 premium picks just to get back Quinnen Williams. It's too much. And it's just crazy. That in the trade up, by the way, like if the Cowboys stink and the Packers are good, like those could be even closer. It for all we know, it could be like a move up like 7 picks in that draft.
What if Dak Prescott or Jordan Love gets injured next year,
right?
And their team like stinks? I mean, who knows what? By the way, I love that. I love that the Jets got that. Now, I don't know what the negotiations were, but I think that's really smart to be like, all right, we want the higher of the 2 picks. So I'm with you. It's too much. I like Quinnen Williams. I'm not crushing Quinnen Williams, but what are we doing? You mentioned Will McClay. He must be like, dude, I have gotten you so many great players. I got you Dak Prescott in the 4th round. I got you CeeDee Lamb. I got you Micah Parsons. I got you Trevon Diggs. And now, like Greg said, we don't have any like additional draft capital to show for it. And we lost Micah Parsons. I mean, what are they doing? Honestly, like sometimes I'm like, am I going over the top on them? I'm falling into the content machine with Jerry. But then like you make the point you did, and I just get all fired up again. And by the way, we didn't count that in addition to all the things that went out and came back in, they lost games this year because they didn't have Micah Parsons or Quinnen Williams. I mean, there's a scenario where we're like, hey, Cowboys are a frisky team. NFC's wide open. And we lost that as well.
That's an outstanding point that like you also didn't have Quinnen Williams for these 8 or 9 games. Like that should be factored in. And it's why the Jets making the move was great, I think, because I think they traded both Sauce and Quinnen at the highest value that they could possibly have, which is right now. I think just with these 2 players in particular, it will be interesting to see how much is getting the Jets' depression and stink off you worth. Because both players need to be significantly better than they looked this year for the Jets on their new teams. I kind of buy the idea, especially with Sauce, but probably with both, that they'll just be happier, playing better in a healthier situation and play better. But they kind of need to. The buzz, behind the scenes was Quinnen Williams really wanted out, and he made it pretty clear. And I think that relationship had soured, and I think that was part of the reason they did that.
All right, it's a good segue to talk about the Jets here because you know how this works. The team that gets the draft picks, they're the online heroes, and this is so smart and draft capital. And then you turn around like a few years later and you're like, man, that team kind of still stinks here. So
the Jets were that team 3 years ago. They had 3 first-round draft picks.
Yeah, they are. They already did this. If you're having deja vu, it's because they already did this and they're back at the same spot here. But they've got 5 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks. the next 2 seasons, you're in there with Woody, with Brick, with whoever else there at the Jets facility. They turn to you for both these deals. Are you saying, let's not give away good players? Or are you saying, all right, let's do it. This makes sense.
I'm down with it. I hate being in that room. Like I want to be Aaron Glenn in this situation. I do think it's a vote of confidence in Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji to a lesser extent, who's their GM. And I just don't get a sense has the most juice compared to other GMs. I think it's Aaron Glenn kind of running the show. I think he's the most important person. I think building around a great defense is tough. And by the time, like, they need to get their quarterback, if they need to rebuild, I think it's sort of thinking about, let's put our resources into offense. Like Robert Saleh was a great example of why it wasn't working, putting it all into defense.
I love that point. And the cupboard's not bare there. You know, they potentially have 2 offensive tackles. Now, we're not like 100% sure, but they look good so far. They have a number 1 wide receiver in Garrett Wilson. And so I'm a yes too. So I think we're in the same boat where we're like, I would have done this. It makes sense. It guarantees nothing. We could be 3 years from now being like, well, the picks suck. They didn't get anybody and they're terrible still. But I like the point about building on offense and especially the optionality it gives you at quarterback. Like they need an avenue to try to get a quarterback. I don't know what that's going to be, but now with all these picks, you can take one, you can move up for one, you can trade for a veteran who might be unhappy. You can try to get one of these reclamation quarterback guys and then draft one after. It doesn't have to be just one thing. This gives you a lot of options. It's a hard reset. A lot of things could still go wrong, but I feel like it still gives you a chance. And I think the point you made earlier was the key one, which is that if you're going to trade good players, premium positions in their prime, you better maximize the value. The worst thing you can do is trade one of those guys. And then we were like, wow, they only got a 2nd round pick or whatever for them. And I think like if you and I had this conversation a week ago, and I said, hey, the Jets are going to trade Sauce Gardner and Quinnen Williams next week. I wouldn't have had the compensation as high as 3 first-round picks and a 2nd round pick.
And A.D. Mitchell.
And A.D. Mitchell.
Mozzie Smith, I'm not really putting anything into.
Yeah.
He was a healthy scratch earlier this season for the Cowboys. I actually think, A.D. Mitchell is the number 2 wide receiver on the Jets right now. They're so bad at wide receiver. He's a talented player who, they struggled to kind of get in line. I actually don't think it's that small of a throw-in. I think A.D. Mitchell will be playing a ton of snaps and potentially could be pretty good for the Jets. So I agree. They got maximum haul. I would not have thought Quinnen Williams would have gotten that much. Not that he's old, like he's 28, turning 29 soon. But Sauce Gardner, that they maxed out. I think they did a good job. Like the only surprise is that Breece Hall didn't go, but I think they actually will probably keep him on a franchise tag next year and try to have a good offense with whoever they have at quarterback.
Could we not have gotten the Colts to throw in Anthony Richardson to this trade? I was thinking about that. What do they don't need Anthony Richardson anymore, right?
I think yes. I don't know. I don't know if the Colts would have, because are they ready to take that out? Yeah, I think they would have. But I don't know if, I guess you would want him as a throw-in. It's just the messiness. You just have no faith that in the end the Jets are going to do the right thing. Like the Raiders are the other team that I was thinking of, had 3 first-round picks recently. And it was Cleveland Farrell, Alex Leatherwood, and that safety that is escaping my name, but I think is barely in the league right now.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it doesn't guarantee you anything. All right, let's finish with this, Greg. I feel like the hipsters, the normies, the universally beloved trade we got today, the Saints trading wide receiver Rashid Shaheed to the Seahawks for a 2026 4th and a 2026 5th. I feel like highest approval rating across the board with this trade for the Seahawks. Do you agree?
You're too deep in the hipster takes. Sheil, you got to get offline. And now I just feel like, here I am in my hipster, open, gray jacket uniform. And I'm just agreeing with you. But I've been preaching at the altar of Rashid Shaheed for 3 years. It's been a very frustrating watch how the Saints have used him. Speed like that is just so hard to find. And I think he's become a more complete receiver. more routes that he's run. And I think it could be a great short-term pickup. I don't think Cooper Kupp is on this roster next year, so I think it could be a good long-term pickup too. They'll at least have a chance to negotiate with him first.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, if you look at it, JSN has 900 and some receiving yards, and no other Seahawks receiver has over 293. It's like it's a crazy gap that I didn't realize until earlier today. So they need more receiving options, whether JSN just, defenses are committing more attention to him, whether he goes down with an injury, it's a rental. You don't have to give up much. He's played for Clint Kubiak before, so the scheme fit should be pretty seamless. So nice job by the Seahawks there. Nice job by the Saints. I mean, you mentioned it earlier with like Breece Hall. I'm just like, if a guy's a free agent at the end of the season and you don't think you're going to keep him and your team stinks, it's like the Trey Hendrickson thing to me is organizational malpractice. Like, I don't know what they were asking for, but you have a historically bad defense. Your team's not going anywhere. He's walking at the end of the year. You're going to need draft capital to take swings on defense. How do you hold on to that guy? So that was the one I didn't understand. I thought he was going to get moved today, especially when we saw these other traits.
Yeah, I have a friend, Adam, who hosts a Saints podcast, Saints Block Party podcast, who has good sources with the Saints. And he heard that they were asking for a fourth for Pete Werner. Like, teams were calling about Pete Werner, who's not going to be on this team next year. And it's just just take what you can get, bro.
Yeah.
What is the point of 7 more games of Pete Werner? It's on the 2025 Saints.
Truly.
So that is supporting your point. And I think a 4th and a 5th for Shaheed, 2 actual picks, they weren't swaps. I get it if you're getting the offers that the Patriots were clearly just done with Kyle Duggar and Keon White and just took whatever they get. They didn't even get picks out of those. They just got a late round pick. So if you want to say, no, I don't even want that. I would rather have 9 games of Pete Werner than 6 for a 7. I get it. But they got actual picks, a 4th and a 5th. That's something.
Yeah, I mean, that I feel like teams will write down, here's what we think Trey Hendrickson's worth. And then if they don't get that, they don't trade him. It's like, he is worth what one of the other 31 teams are willing to give you for Trey Hendrickson the rest of the year. That's how it works. It is anyone can bid on Trey Hendrickson. So that one I didn't understand. But Gregg, I got to give myself a pat on the back because I'm used to listening to you on 1.2 speed. And so there were times here in the last half an hour where I'm like, is he talking really slow? Is he okay? But no, it was because we were having an actual conversation. So I appreciate you joining me today. This was a lot of fun. You can, of course, listen to Gregg on NFL Daily or watch him on NFL Network. I'm bagging the hurry up today. I'm not kicking Rosenthal out and doing the 2 minutes at the end here. He's too big of a guest. We're giving him the full allotment here. So there you go. That was the show for today. Appreciate everyone listening. Thank you to Christopher Sutton for producing, Kiera Givens on social, and additional production supervision by Conor Nevins and Arjuna Ramgopowell. I'm Sheil Kapadia. Talk to you tomorrow on the Ringer NFL Show. Must be 21 plus and present in select states. For Kansas, in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in DC, Kentucky, or Wyoming. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York.